ready to go? Cameras rolling? Okay, sounds good. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. My name is Nerdeen Kiswani. I'm the founder of Within Our Lifetime, and we have been organizing for Palestine in Bayridge, Brooklyn for nearly a decade, and having an annual Nakba Day rally for years. Nakba means catastrophe in Arabic, and it marks the 1948 displacement and exile of over 750,000 Palestinians, 531 villages depopulated. To this day, the Palestinian people, the Palestinian refugees, the largest refugee population in the world, have not been able to return to our homeland. If you look around you, we have signs that say that we will return with the names of the towns and villages that Palestinians have been forced to be exiled from. And this does not exclude our community here in Bayridge, Brooklyn, which is one of the largest Palestinian communities in the entire country, in all of the United States. We have been organizing this Nakba Day rally for years to say that we want the right to return to our homeland in safety, in dignity, and in freedom. This year, it was much more somber and angering, considering that we are in the midst of a genocide of our people in Gaza. Over 40,000 Palestinians have been killed, at least 15,000 of them children, funded by our tax dollars, supported by our government, our politicians on a federal level and on a local level. Politicians like Eric Adams have made his Zionist positions clear time and time again. And so we wanted to gather together as a community, as we always do annually, but particularly during this genocide, to make it loud and clear that we stand against this genocide, and it is our responsibility and duty to stand against our tax dollars, our complicity, our participation in this genocide with this government's support of it. However, this year, our neighborhood was invaded by the NYPD, who brought officers from all across the city and all units to terrorize our community. The violence that they unleashed was unprecedented in our Nakba Day rally's entire history, and showed the great lengths that the NYPD will use to defend the genocide in Gaza, along with Eric Adams and the city administration, and to ensure that we don't use our voices to call for an end to the occupation and the killing of tens of thousands of our people. The NYPD were documented committing the following acts: ripping hijabs off of multiple Muslim women. Shame. Shame. Ripping a woman's shirt off completely. Shame. Throwing protesters to the ground and punching them in the face, knocking one unconscious. Shame. Pointing organizers out in the crowd, targeting anyone wearing a Within Our Lifetime shirt. Shame. Breaking a community member's motorized wheelchair. Shame. Grabbing protesters from the sidewalk in order to pull them into the street and arrest them. Shame. Placing protesters in chokeholds. Shame. Standing in the way of a moving crowd to intentionally antagonize us and prevent us from moving forward. Shame. They pulled a random woman, a woman who was not even part of the protest, a random woman, out of her car by her hair and arrested her before towing her car. Shame! They violently beat up a young black minor to the point where he could no longer walk, and they dragged him to the police van by his arms. Shame! So while our community is currently healing from the bruises and recovering from the trauma, the fascist mayor Eric Adams has gone on record saying that the NYPD did a so-called commendable job with their attacks. Shame! This is the disdain that the administration is showing to Palestinian, Arab, and Muslim community of New York City. The NYPD Deputy Commissioner Kaz Daughtry took to social media to try to paint us as outside agitators in our own neighborhood, claiming 36 of the 41 were not arrested were not from Bayridge or New York. But we know that this is a lie. And what actually happened was that the NYPD came into a community and became the outside agitators. That's right. That's right. Making us all unsafe. And we know that this is not new. This is part of the crackdown on pro-Palestine protests we've seen, particularly since January, on basic protest rights like using amplified sound and using the street to march, which is legally enshrined for the safety of large crowds that can't and should not be crammed onto sidewalks. We know that these orders for this crackdown come from the NYPD top brass like John Chell and Kaz Daughtry, who have been personally directing attacks against our organization and the movement for Palestine on Twitter and in the street for months. NYPD Chief of Patrol John Chell murdered a 25-year-old black man when he shot him in the back in cold blood. These murderers are the ones who are directing how they respond to us in our own community. Kaz Daughtry, the deputy commissioner, traveled to occupied Palestine, so-called Israel, with the mayor in August and has spearheaded expanding the NYPD's drone program that they brought here directly from Israel.
That's right, talk about it.
He took out his gun during the summer of 2007 and threatened to kill a man on a motorcycle. These killers, these trigger-happy cops who beat us up and attack us and pepper spray us in our own community are the ones who are being amplified and elevated and supported by this mayor, where entire communities of Palestinian, Arab, and Muslim people are being painted as outside agitators and being attacked in our own community.
Shame.
Shame.
This is the NYPD leadership that are ordering the attacks on our youth and the Palestinian movement and the communities that stand in solidarity with us. And they have the audacity to say that we are the violent ones. We know that our neighborhood has been targeted by the NYPD for decades. Most recently through the so-called demographics unit, created by the NYPD in post 9/11 to conduct mass surveillance on our masjids, community centers, and wherever elders, family, and friends gathered. The NYPD categorized us based on 28 ancestries of interest and cataloged and infiltrated where we go to school, where we pray, and everywhere our communities congregate. This program was supposedly dismantled by a lawsuit in the last decade, but we know these units change names with no accountability and no transparency, and they still conduct surveillance and repression on our community, particularly through the use of drones and facial recognition at protests. However, as we've been showing in the streets week in and week out, as we flooded all 5 boroughs for Gaza, we will no longer accept the NYPD surveillance. We created a report detailing the repression we've experienced, available at WOLPalestine.com/resist repression, not just to educate ourselves, but to use that knowledge in the streets to push back against their tactics through the collective action. We saw this on Saturday with the Nakba Day rally being one of the largest actions for Gaza in months, with over several thousand people. And we have supporters from that car in the back, so we'll let them know we see you guys. Despite the police violence which intended on shutting down the march before it even began, the march continued for several hours throughout Bayridge. Yes, the march continued for several hours throughout Bayridge. This has only taught us to be more unafraid and made us more emboldened to know our rights, to resist this crackdown on our streets, in our neighborhoods, and beyond. Thank you all for coming today, and I want you all to give it up to our next speaker from Majlis Ashura. Majlis Ashura is an umbrella organization that represents over 100 mosques and Muslim organizations all throughout New York City. And today our speaker from Majlis will be Ade Aluwo.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
I bring to you all the greeting of peace. When the Muslims say salam, the Jewish people say shalom. It means peace. Islam is a religion of peace and tolerance, as has been displayed throughout history. Islam throughout history has been a religion of peace and tolerance. Today, I represent Majlis Ashura, representing over 100 different organizations in the state of New York. We gather here with heavy heart to address the deeply disturbing and unacceptable action by the New York Police Department during the Nakba rally on May 18. The law enforcement people brutally beat the protesters who are demonstrating for the values of justice and dignity, which we all hold dear. The Nakba rally was organized to remember the honor and the sufferings of the Palestinian people. And this year's rally was no different than any other one. The excessive force used by the New York Police Department against individuals exercising their right to peaceful assembly is a stark reminder of the challenges we face for advocating for human rights and justice. We unequivocally condemn the action of the New York Police Department and call for a thorough investigation of the incident. Accountability is essential to ensure that such abuses of power do not go unpunished. Furthermore, we stand in solidarity with the people of Palestine and Gaza. The struggle for freedom, dignity, self-determination is one that resonates with all of us. At Majlis Al-Shura, we believe in the principle of justice, equality, and right to peaceful protest. We urge all communities to come together in support of this principle and continue to advocate for the right of the Palestinian people. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.